6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0.
This is episode number 398 of WPwatercooler, Gutenberg blocks, and custom fields.
Wow.
Brought to you by ServerPress, Maker's Desktop Server. They make local WordPress development easy. Check them out at serverpress.com.
ServerPress.
I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me at Jason Tucker on Twitter.
Tucker.
I'm Steve Zehngut. I'm the founder of Zeek Interactive, and I run the OC WordPress meetup.
Zehngut. I'm Say Reed. I make WordPress, teach WordPress, read, do other things with WordPress at sayreedmedia.com.
Say. And what's up, everybody? This is your boy Jason Cosper, back on the number one most influential WordPress podcast.
Speaking of which, you can leave us a review. Go over to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify to
We're
do
so
exactly
good.
that.
We're the best. We're the best.
And go hang out with us on Discord. Go over to WPwatercooler.com/Discord.
Just like the kids.
Just like the
Okay, wait. Are we actually on a list of influential WordPress podcasts?
Yeah.
Yeah, all you have to do is make the list.
Have they even watched this show?
We made the list. We're at the top.
It's because we have WordPress in the title of the show. They've never even watched it.
It's
Right.
because of you, Steve.
Well, I mean, come on.
And our guest today.
Hi.
Hi.
I love
And
being
our
a guest here.
today.
This
Hey,
is great.
Scott, how you doing?
I mean, it is entertaining. You have to admit.
It's
I mean,
very.
you have
I
to, or
love.
we're gonna
I
just
loved
kick
how
you
y'all
out.
do the intros like manually every time. Like you just talk, and it's just like it just cracks me up just hearing you say two or three.
I
And
don't
then
It's
know what
like-
you're talking about.
You remember South
Me?
Jason
Park
took over.
did that. South Park did that. They'd add like something little in the intro every show.
This is, some of us grew up on Animaniacs, and it shows. Okay, that's all I have
Right.
to say. All right. So anyway, today's topic is not the topic that I thought it was, but it is still a good topic. I just want you to know that
second best, at least second best.
it was.
I love you,
It's
Say.
a decent topic, and next week we're gonna have the topic that I thought it was, and we might have to have Scott Kingsley Clark back on the show to discuss that topic as well.
Sounds good to me.
We will.
But today's topic is something about blocks.
Yes, it's about Gutenberg blocks and the use of Gutenberg blocks with custom fields.
Oh,
Well, yeah.
this is actually really relevant.
This is very relevant to most of our lives. Yes.
Yeah, because what the hell is happening?
When you say custom fields, are we talking about advanced custom fields or just any?
No, the
custom
beginner
field?
custom fields, because this isn't Dev Bratch.
Are we talking specifically about ACF?
No, what we're talking about is the field, the custom field that has been produced by whatever it is that you use
Whatever
to create
custom
that
field.
custom field.
Okay.
In
Do we talk about
particular,
ACF's ugly database custom fields, or just regular basic custom fields, or whatever kind of custom fields?
Well,
we
in
wanna talk
particular,
about?
what we did is we pulled in Scott, who Scott is a developer for Pods, and Pods
Allegedly.
does a lot of stuff like this.
Mhm.
And so I was like, "Hey, Scott, what do you think?" And
Hey,
we
Scott.
just-
And what did he say
Well, then-
back?
I was like, hey, someone cares about me. They want me to be on a thing. All right, yeah, this is cool. I love this.
I
What
just
do
Not
you
want
talk
just,
about?
not just a thing. We're on that list of influential
the
WordPress
number one
podcasts.
influential WordPress podcast in Long Beach.
Top 3 of the top things, I think.
So I just want to point out from my extensive research about our guest here, Scott Kingsley Clark, that Pods came out originally in 2008. And I just want to talk about how long ago that was.
Wow.
Let me get my calculator. Hang on a second.
That was like literally still Britney Spears. Like that was happening. So I
Yeah.
just want to put it in context in terms of Pods could be getting out of a conservatorship right now. Like that's how long it's been since you've been around, and you've seen a lot change in WordPress
That's true.
on that
The
back
number-
end.
The number one movie for 2008 was The Dark Knight. That's how long ago this was.
Oh, wow, that was a
That
good
was
one
actually a
too.
good
Movie.
movie. That was a good movie. And that might have been when movies stopped being good.
Movies?
Wow.
Just
That
stop
was
being
an
in theaters?
old person thing to say. All right, look. Talk about what is the Pods custom fields relationship?
Sure. So, well, you said in 2008, that's when Pods came around, and it became a CMS plugin for WordPress before WordPress could really do much of any CMSing. You would have to add all your fields to a post or all your fields to the page, and that was it. Like that would you'd get extra fields on those things, and anything about a custom post type really didn't exist inside of WordPress yet. And so when Pods started up, it was just like this own thing. You could build your own set of content types and you add your fields and all that. And it was very manual. We had things stored in a table, and it was like that for at least 4 years until we rewrote everything in Pods 2.0. And then we supported custom post types and custom fields and custom taxonomies and everything like out the gate. Then you can start extending users and everything inside of WordPress. But up until that point, it was all totally zeroed in on having everything in its own table. Nice. But the relationship of custom fields, though, is like that's where we were born from. Like we were the first custom post type plugin builder for WordPress before we decided we were going to focus on the tables. Because of course we were like, oh, WordPress isn't doing anything with custom post types. We should just put this in its own table, and we saw how that worked out.
Well, I
Make
mean,
your own table.
It's always good to just serialize everything, throw it into post meta, and just hope for the best, right?
Yeah.
So
what could possibly go wrong?
So obviously you've been basically pioneering the custom fields and custom taxonomy and all that coding and development along with core and along with other more high profile
it's easy for you to say
file plugins like ACF, right? So you've seen just a whole gamut of changes. Where do you think it's at right now? Where is it at for you? Pods.
Well, like Pods predates ACF, and then ACF came onto the scene and made things all more focused about fields and not content types like Pods was.
Right.
And with all of that, we saw plugins like types come up and then go away. Now it's like a premium thing. It used to be free. Now it's all totally premium. You've seen Flutter went away when Pods was out. Flutter was a thing, if you remember Flutter. There's all these different plugins that have come and go in their life cycles. Many of them that were free plugins that they couldn't sustain themselves. Many that were free that then turn into freemium or totally premium. And then there's many that totally shifted their direction, switching from custom fields and focus on that to focusing more on page building. I think that a lot of this space has been undercultivated inside of core. So all these plugins have been built up to build all the interfaces and all the APIs they need to do their thing to make it easier for everyone else to do their things. So I feel like things have really been shifting, and now here we are right at the cusp. WordPress 5.9 front end site editing. That is what page builders have been doing themselves. So you're going to see that shift for page builders themselves as well, start to like figure out how do they fit into this space? How do they become compatible with these front end site editor themes and all that stuff. So I think page builders were kind of a replacement for a lot of custom field needs for a lot of people. And now page builders are having their own transition period as well.
I mean, it's all like, I feel like everything just got thrown into a shoebox and we're like shaking it up. And at the end of this, we're going to like open it up and be like, here's what this looks like. Like, because right now everyone's like, what does it look like? Like, how do page builders work if Gutenberg is providing full site editing? And how, I mean, this conversation happening throughout the ecosystem. It's just, it's so unknown, which is strange because there's roadmaps and there's, trajectory. So why is it still so Wild West? Like, we don't know where this is ending up. Mostly probably because Matt doesn't talk about it.
I was just going to say, is there any leadership on that front? Right? Like, has anybody from the WordPress core team made that plan?
I mean, we've talked about it, and there's definitely technical roadmaps, but I don't know about I don't think the WordPress core team is worrying about how does this affect the ecosystem? How does this affect site builders? I think it's more about replacing and not worrying about if it integrates or anything like that, right? Like, it's not taking that into consideration. So the integration component is completely left up to people like Scott or Divi or Beaver Builder or Elementor to try to figure out what it looks like for them. And that seems like non-united. We're not working together.
And that's the whole reason why, I was even thinking of bringing Scott into this conversation, is the idea of like, you have people like me, I'll use myself as an example, that I've built sites using Beaver Builder, and now I'm like, oh, but I want to take the things that I can do in Beaver Builder and bring it back to this full site editing thing with blocks. How do I make that happen? How can I get those tools to do it?
I outside of the show routinely get texts from Tucker as he tries to like rebuild his sites in Gutenberg after using Beaver Builder for so many years, about just like what the hell is going on here.
They all start with what the hell all of the time.
Yeah. And he'll just be like, oh man, I can't believe like it was so easy in Beaver Builder to do this, but now it's like I've got to jump through like 4 or 5 different hoops just to make something similar, for the site I'm working on. I know he's still working on converting the water cooler site from Beaver Builder to Gutenberg. And that's going to take you a lot of work. I know.
Well, and we touched on this on a past episode. Yeah, well, we touched on this in a past episode, and I forgive me, Scott, I'm not familiar with the Pods interface, but what Gutenberg does to the plugins I use now inside of a post area is awful, right? So it takes all the stuff that we were sort of used to seeing, at the bottom of a scroll inside of a post, and puts it down in this little teeny box at the bottom of the Gutenberg window, which clearly is what the WordPress team is telling me is this is the most important thing on this page, right? And your ACF stuff is now in this little teeny accordion down at the bottom, as well as Yoast and all the other plugins that you're used to. It's become hard to use.
I mean, I just take away my editor in all of my custom post types because it's so annoying. There's no editor. There's just meta boxes. Where are you at, Scott? I want to hear from you. I feel like you're in the trenches of this visioning challenge, and I want to know what you're visioning or what your main challenges are.
I think my main challenge is keeping up with what WordPress is trying to do with a budget of a free plugin. In my own expertise and the people I work with and who know lots of things about this stuff. Friends of Pods is the program I came up with Josh Pollock. He and I kind of tried to figure out how do we envision donations for a free plugin in a way that it feels like everyone can contribute and feel like they're part of something bigger. And it's a program where you can donate one time or recurring, and it's powered by Give.
I was going to ask if it was powered by Give.
I love that plugin to death, and I hope it never dies, but I love it. And the cool part about it is that it allowed us to have some monthly budgets. And so now we're able to pay for development help for React. And that has been what we've been focused on for our latest Pods 2.8 release, which is due out later this month in just a couple of weeks. And that whole thing, we rebuilt the entire interface for managing your pod and groups and fields. Now you have the ability to add groups in pods. You have the ability to do some really cool things, because all of our stuff for the editor screen, as well as all of our fields in Gutenberg and everywhere else, all that's powered by React now. When I say React, I mean specifically the Gutenberg components. All the components part of React and Gutenberg itself, the editor, we're using those things inside of pods now. So we've taken it to the next level.
You're not creating a redundancy with like a whole new set of tools, essentially. Like, you're just using the pre-baked stuff.
We're dependent now on those tooling things that are part of Gutenberg.
Well,
and so like we have a text field, we're using the Gutenberg text field. We have a drop down, we're using Gutenberg drop down.
So when WordPress switches over to Vue from React, you're hosed.
Yes, this is exactly why we need better funding for free plugins. So everyone who went into React can recover.
Man, I hear nothing good about React, and all I want to do is not learn it ever.
It's not so bad. I like it because it's got JSX, which is a great dirty sounding language, and it's pretty cool because you can do some more like, oh, here's my HTML, but here's also my dynamic part. And
Scott, you are welcome back anytime.
I know, you just totally
show.
made all of our day. So I was like, oh, he gets the point of the show.
yes, this is what I'm talking about. But yeah, so I think it's a lot to digest. Building it is not that hard, but like building your app is hard. Like the build tools, all that stuff that Chris had talked about a couple episodes ago, that stuff's big deal. That takes a lot of time and effort to get set up. I couldn't even start building with React or building a block or anything until I figured out that part. And once you have that part down, like I just paid someone to help me set up the main part, do that main part for me, and I can build the rest of the stuff. And it's so much easier to do that once you have that founding thing. Like, here, build me a basic block so I can then modify the heck out of it.
That's like how back in the day you would take just like the default theme and then you just modify it like OG style. And now they're doing the same thing. That's actually interesting because I think that's Matt's model. Like we mentioned Hello Dolly the other day, right? Like, and we were seeing if that's how you used to learn plugin development. You would go in there and, hack it up and do things with it. So we never, I don't think, figured out if there's a Hello Dolly equivalent block of like a Gutenberg block that like becomes like that, just like that basic tear apart block. Does that exist? You see that?
I think there's a few of them out there. There's a bunch of tutorials now, like how do you build your block and all that stuff. It's more complicated now because like they have to explain all the stuff that you just can't like download the thing and be like, okay, here it is. And now you just do your thing. Like, okay, where do I go to do my thing? Where's the file to put my output? Like you have no idea because it's not just one plugin file with.
You mean it doesn't just come in naturally? Your instincts don't kick in and you know where to put your things?
No.
No? Oh.
No, and we're going down a weird road.
Welcome to the show.
Oh, I didn't say anything. All I said is you don't know where to put your things. It's like high school. That's all. Is what I'm thinking. You just don't know where you fit in. That's all.
Yeah.
So what's your plan? I mean, your main concern is funding then. Less technology and more support. Like how do you like if you had enough funding, well, I guess if anyone had enough funding, they could do whatever. But like if you got the baseline funding you need, it wouldn't concern you as much, the changes and the stuff that's happening.
I think most of the plugin authors worry about how much time and investment it is to do the stuff that they want to do for the block. So they're thinking, oh, I need to add block compatibility one day, because they just can't have the time to do that. Because a lot of these plugin developers, a lot of free plugin developers are doing this on their own, like on the side for fun, or freelancers who are building it for projects. And then that's it. They kind of left it there and released it just in case it's helpful. But that's a problem. They don't have the time. They don't have the resources. They don't have the money to just say, oh, here's my day to work only on this thing because I have enough money to pay for it. I can pay for dinner tonight and I can do this whole thing. And that's a challenge, I think, for a lot of this new technology that is being adopted inside of WordPress the last 8 versions, but it still seems like it's not been that long.
Yeah,
but I think that's true of any scale, right? Even if we're talking about some of the largest premium plugins that are out there, they still have to find the time and the budget to work within this new environment that was forced on them, right? And sure, we have backwards compatibility right now, but we're not going to for very long. So if you want your plugin to survive, you're going to have to build it into this new environment or adapt it so that it's in this new environment. And that's not inexpensive at any level.
I think that when you were talking, Scott, it occurred to me, I mean, and I know this is kind of obvious, but free plugins have been the backbone of WordPress's growth. They are the strength of our community and of our platform, I think. And I think with all of, everyone's trying to monetize and everyone wants to, get a subscription plan or make a SaaS or whatever. But when we switch all that stuff to premium and, even premium has to do all this investment for change. If we don't support our free plugin development as a community, then we're going to lose. I mean, there's already so many outdated, free plugins in the repo, but we're going to lose even more at this juncture specifically because they just can't make that jump. like
all we're gonna end up with is a bunch of premium plugins owned by hosting companies who have acquired them.
Right. Or they'll
And
buy up a free
what-
plugin that's
Again,
struggling and-
what could possibly go wrong with that?
Yeah, there's never been a problem with that.
yeah.
I wish capitalism could like stop just eating itself. That would be
So, Steve, to go back to what you're asking about, I wanted to share my screen here real quick and show you the interface that Scott was talking about earlier. So you can see over on the right hand side, that pod single item interface, and that they have a custom template that's down the bottom there that's kind of building all these pieces out and being able to make it so that you can pull in the item IDs, or I think he's using a book for this particular example. So you can see that way of how to kind of pull all those pieces together to make it work.
You want me to show you real fast? Scott? I can show you. I have it up right now, and I've got a really good example for this exact example you're trying to talk about here.
Sure.
Ooh, please.
So I'm looking at the editor inside of Gutenberg, and I've got heading block here, and then I wanted to embed information about any kind of content type. So I've got a number of blocks I can choose from in pods, and I can just browse all, and I go down here at the bottom. I can list an individual field value. I can show a form where they can submit their own things or edit things. There's a list of items, like this is like a loop field almost in a way. Single item, just a bunch of details about a single item, or embed things directly from the theme. Like if a theme has a PHP file I want to run, it can run that. It does a template part include and does that part. So it's really useful because I can embed things about other posts that are dynamic. Now this is coming from the post data. It's coming from the custom fields. It can render things like blocks. It has inner block compatibility. So there's some really cool things you could do here that allows you to do some more dynamic building. And I see this being something where you're dealing with a lot of data being very important, because you don't want to just have reusable blocks that just have all the stuff hard coded in just a bunch of gloop, like whatever is inside that block. Now that's how do you work with that pragmatically? How do you deal with that in a REST API? How do you deal with the dynamics of that, like powering an app? So that this part is really, really helpful. And this is what we spent a great deal of time on in Pods 2.8 trying to make work, because outputting this stuff, if I look here, the options, I can choose a specific book author or book pod, and I can choose what thing to show depending on what it is. And I can show a specific field if I want. And
that
this
really
one I've got
integrated
HTML itself.
It's very integrated of a UI. Like it's unlike ACF or any of the builders, it very much looks native.
Exactly. I was going to say the exact same thing. You are way ahead of anybody who hasn't built their interface into Gutenberg yet, right? Because the ones that aren't Gutenberg compatible get shoved down to the bottom.
They do not look like this. Can you use this? Oh, you just said here's the template file. I was going to say, can you use your those to call up your fields in the new template files in 5.8? I'm assuming, but
if you do that with a PHP call, you could, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like if I look at the front end of this, it renders exactly what I put into the editor. Like this is what it outputs. It has the data. I have my form here. I can submit stuff. I want to submit a new book to be reviewed or whatever. Like I can do all this stuff real easy. But that's the thing. We're a content type and custom field plugin. So this is our bread and butter. This is what we see as important for us to make sure, not about entry of this information, because entry is a totally different beast when you're looking at the books themselves and you want to go edit your information. It's not in Gutenberg. It's in a separate section when you look at editing in the experience.
It's a custom post type.
Yeah, it's a custom post type, and it can be either a classic editor or block editor, but it still shows it in its own meta box section here. So you can manage the information. You can add new authors or whatever directly from the field. You can edit the existing author from the field and then do whatever you want to do. But this is inside the block editor. It's not a block. It's just a normal meta box.
But
and there's no reason to put everything into blocks when you want to have dynamic content about describing a data point.
And Pods does the custom field development, the building too, and the
Yep. So like if you're looking at the pod editor, you just go to the book section here. I can edit my book, and then you'll see my list of fields added to my group. I can change my group's name to whatever I want. I can go and edit an individual field. I can choose different types of fields, and I can say I want to relate something to another post or whatever. Maybe there's I want to relate it to users. You can't really see the drop down when I do this.
Related types. Look at you, fancy
But
pants.
it's really pretty
Oh.
great, because this relationship stuff is what powers pods, and that's another area I see that's lacking inside of WordPress. So you can
That's
see
been
this-
lacking since post to posts got
Yeah. Yep.
abandoned, I guess, in a way. Post to post was I haven't been able to find a replacement for that. So look at you making your case to me properly.
So we're going to be
All you
expanding
gotta
the
talk
connections
about is
more, too.
relational fields and post to post relationships, and I'm like, do tell me more. I'm intrigued now.
Yeah, that was
but also really the integration is for clients. I build sites and then hand them off to people and rely on my clients to they're doing it right. They're managing the site, they're managing the data and everything, and it has been it is not quite discouraging, but it's irksome to me to hand off these basically these custom fields and whatever that just look really stuck on. They don't look integrated, and so I really think that was worth spending your time on, because I think that really matters in terms of it feeling like it's part of the same environment, and it feels WordPressy. So I commend you on your ability to do that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Not everyone can do that. And what are you saying, Cosper? You want us to say, consider becoming a friend of Pods. If you like what you see.
If you like what you see here. And you do have some premium features available as well, Scott. I mean, I know Pods has been free for a while, but do I remember maybe hearing on Mainline or something like that you now have?
Yep.
Premium?
So Pods has been free forever, and our goal is to make it so in a way, it's like WordPress. We want to reduce the bar, prevents people having to go out and pay a bunch of money to go build something for their hobby projects and do all these things, and kind of expand their world with the free plugin. And all of our main priority features are inside of Pods. That's the stuff that you might see pro or premium in other plugins like ACF or whatever. Repeatable fields is coming into Pods in the next version in a couple of months. But the thing that is focused and the main priority here is all in the free plugin. The pro stuff, that's different. So Pods Pro is my own set of plugins, separate from Pods. It's stuff that doesn't really belong in Pods. It's like, oh, you want to do a bunch of really cool page builder stuff? Okay, here's this add-on. Or, oh, you want to go build some list tables, UIs? You can do that here, or you can have integration with TablePress or integration with WP GraphQL, which is awesome. I love building that one. That was a really cool one. It really exposes the cool relationship stuff in Pods. And I built all that stuff as separate pro add-ons, so you can go do that. But it's not inside of WordPress. Or it's not inside of Pods. It's separate from Pods. Pods is free. It's the community. It's funded by the sponsors and the donations. And then there's Pods Pro, and that's my thing. And I don't get paid from Pods itself. So this is my way of, if I get paid for Pods Pro, I can have more time for myself to do Pods itself. It's kind of like one of those things that just makes it so I'm not like making Pods all about me making money. It's all about Pods itself.
I mean, I think you have to create those hybrid structures because of the problems of the free plugin. It's not like you can, we talked about this a couple episodes ago. You can't set it and forget it with a plugin, and you can't even let it alone for a couple months anymore. So you have to pay attention and you have to update it. And, you know, I feel like there was a little bit of justification that you were offering there. And I just want you to know, you do not have to justify yourself for finding a way to
it's hard.
Make yourself paid while also, you know, living.
That's
but it's
like
also
the next
cool to be
meeting, right?
first
Or
to
the
market.
next one we're going to do.
It's also cool to be first to market for this sort of stuff, and seeing that you're actually using all the Gutenberg type, you know, stuff of being able to put things over on the right hand side there and not having it thrown down the bottom of the page like Steve was saying earlier and stuff like that. There is some things in there that I think are well worth it, especially in the fact that you're a free plugin for that part of it.
It's worth downloading the free plugin.
Yeah, if you want to do it, it's not going to cost you anything. It's free, and it's actually compatible with ACF. We have a lot of cool stuff there.
Sorry, I just want to say I'm always scared to base a lot of core site functionality on a free plugin, just
for that reason.
History. Well, so building something like, I feel like, okay, if I'm paying for ACF Pro, there's an expectation that it's not going to go away. And with free plugins, I think I've just been burned a lot. And so knowing that you're there and that's your plan, and there is a sustainable model, makes it so that Pods doesn't seem like so much of a risk. If you're building all this custom functionality on a site with a plugin that's not going to just be unsupported in the future or take a long time to catch up. So I think that's really important and definitely worth promoting that concept.
The fact that you're basing that on premium plugins is a false sense of security, right? Because there's been premium plugins that have gone out of business.
Yeah, or they get acquired and the plugin changes. Like, it's a completely false sense of security, but it is a sense of security whether or not it is accurate. So
that's what the free plugin developers are up against. They're trying to compete with people who see them as not valuable, because honestly they don't have enough time to do the really cool
reliable things. I think that is the difference.
No, I think Scott's got a point though, right? Because you do place a value on something you pay for, even if it's a small amount of money versus free. It's just it's a perception.
I think we need to talk about this topic next week.
I like it.
Look at that segue.
I like it too. Well, that's about it, folks. Here's our outro. Go over to WPwatercooler.com/subscribe to subscribe to this content that you've listened or watched to here right now. Go over to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. If you want to watch us, you can watch us on YouTube as well as Facebook. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
Are we on Hulu yet?